Triumph Gold is a company that's we took over in 2015 after it had a discovery in the Yukon in 2006 from its IPO. It was one of the first companies in the Yukon after the Yukon got control of its natural resources from the federal government in 2003. They went out and they've got a district-sized play. It's 200 square kilometers, and I'll show you on a map where it is. But it's something that, after spending quite a bit of money and a lot of time understanding and bringing other investors into the project, they had something. And so in 2015, as Jordan talked about being lost out of his own position, that's when we saw the opportunity to backstop this company. So myself and a couple of friends backstopped it, knew we had an asset that was a call on gold and copper at much higher prices. That's why we did it. If we had to hang on to it for 5 years, we were going to do it. The company had no property payments. We cleaned out all the debt. And fortunately, in 2016, the whole Yukon lit up. And that was really because of the success of a company called Kaminak Resources finding the coffee deposit. And that's when Goldcorp showed up in the area and really gave the true credibility in the Yukon. After that, just want to show you our share structure. Goldcorp is our largest shareholder. They came in 2017 with a 20% investment at the time for $6.5 million. They subsequently participated in another financing we did this summer. We brought in Palisades Capital, who's been a fantastic shareholder and has increased their position to about 17%. Also have Zijin Mining, Chinese mining company, has bought 10% of the company, as well as my original investor that backstopped us in this, and that was Gold 2000. So we got a tight share structure. Every financing we've ever done, the shares have obviously increased after that. So all of our shareholders, you can see there's about over 70%. It's held within about 8 hands. And we're in this not just for the exploration success that we've been receiving recently. We're in it for the long run. We think gold is going to go a lot higher. And this Yukon project is something really, really worth hanging on to and exploring. I want to show you more. Our property is located 200 kilometers northwest of the capital of Whitehorse in the Yukon. It's geologically located along the Big Creek Fault, and that's where a lot of the big structures, geological structures, all shallow deposits, and I stress shallow deposits, are located. You've got the Minto mine that Capstone Mining has been operating for some time. It's a very rich open pit copper mine. And then northwest of us is the coffee deposit that I mentioned Goldcorp paid $520 million for in 2016. And then between us is the casino deposit that Western Copper has. Western Copper has a very large, low-grade copper project with a low-grade copper deposit on it. But really why the property was originally put together and what we have is a property that's 200 square kilometers that is contiguous, and it is blessed with government infrastructure. In a remote area, infrastructure is very important for your cost and access to the property. We have 12 months access and a government maintained road that goes to the property, through the property. And I don't know if many of you know, but the federal government has recently announced the infrastructure program in the Yukon. We're actually one of the first beneficiaries of it, where they're taking our gravel road that goes off the Klondike Highway and upgrading it to a 2-lane, 80-kilometer road right to the end of our property. From our property up to where Goldcorp is, all the baseline studies have been done by Western Copper and just waiting for their approval. So that's really the gateway to the northwest from our property. As I said, it's a district-sized project, 200 square kilometers. It's about 5 times the size of Manhattan, and it was blessed. A lot of work had been done on it over the last 100 years. The prospector and his wife who put it together in 2003 did a phenomenal job of really assimilating this project, and that's where it brought a lot of investor attention, particularly institutional investors. The project is highlighted by 343-101 resources called Nucleus and Revenue, and to the south end of the property, the Tinta, all accessible by road. All those other stars we have on it are not deposits, but actually targets that have been drilled, successfully drilled, and really you could say exploration successes. But really what's really creating a lot of excitement and why our shares have reacted recently is what we have. And that is just working between the two 43-101 deposits we have called Nucleus and Revenue. They are blessed, really, sitting on top of a large soil, or underneath a large soil anomaly, but on top of a big IP anomaly. This is one of the most intense soil anomalies in the Western Cordillera. It's 6 kilometers long, and it's got, based on the 43-101, a substantial resource. Those resources are the Nucleus deposit, which is just over 1 million ounces indicated, and the Revenue diatreme that the old management had discovered. What's really created the excitement, though, is that Revenue diatreme is what was originally thought to be a porphyry is a diatreme. And that diatreme, I'll show you shortly a cross-section of what it looks like and what we've actually discovered this year. But we think these are all little rabbits. Those yellow blocks you see on the slide are actually the 43-101 deposits. And those green dots are what we hit last year and followed up this year with discoveries. And that's really what's creating it. And you can just see from a plan map, if that's connected, you're looking at a very large world-class copper gold deposit. And that's what we're trying to prove up. And I think this year, based on what we drilled, we create a lot of proof that there is a source for all of that. When I said the theory that we came up with, that green block is that diatreme. It was 88 million tons, about 3 million ounces gold equivalent. But our theory was, with the new management, was that there's something outside of it. And this diatreme is a new geological feature that's about 40 million years old, and it post-dates the existing system that created a lot of geological events that created a lot of high grade. And where we came up with that was strictly off of this slide. There were holes that were drilled that were never followed up on that were higher grade than the resource, and they had a different age of rocks. And that was just basic re-logging the core, which this is, and showed that there was a lot of hydrofluid action on it, and also just the age of the rocks. This is actually not the 40 million year old rock that I mentioned in the diatreme. This is about 140 million year old rock. So we wanted to prove that theory. We drilled it. And these red blocks are what we drilled last year. I'm just going to go because of time. The exciting thing that created a lot of interest this year, and our stock actually reacted quite well, was we came up with a very significant deeper porphyry mineralization from surface. Our resources are all at surface. They go down to about 200 meters. So we drilled deeper. We went down between 200 and 600 meters and came up with chalcopyrite that carried over 0.4% copper. We did this on 7 holes, but also a gram and a quarter to gram and a half of gold. So well over 1.25% copper or 2 grams gold equivalent. That's created obviously a lot of the excitement. It hasn't, given the reaction like GT Gold, which is a very, very legitimate and exciting discovery, but you don't get these type of grades if you're a geologist in chalcopyrite. You usually need bornite, and bornite is the source for this type of stuff. So given the fact we haven't hit that bornite or that bornite chalcopyrite transaction, we have engaged on a deep IP survey. We've done the survey. We should be getting the results out in the next couple of weeks, and that'll give us the targets to show what this thing can be. So to quote Tony, our VP of exploration, who came up with these holes, we've got a bunch of rabbits at surface, which I mentioned. These are 500,000 million ounce surface deposits, low grade, good calls on gold. What we've now got is something that is a source for that. And the analogy he uses is we have an elephant, and once we get this IP survey, we're going to drill down, and we're going to go down more than 1.2 kilometers and really see what we can shake out of it. That's really what the excitement is. And, you know, again, my time's up, but I got to thank everyone at Metals Investment Forum for coming, for Jordan being the first on the story, and a couple other newsletters like Jay Taylor that are here that have been following the story. Very, very supportive. We're in it for the long run. We're all shareholders. We know we've got something. There's no gun to our head with money. There's no gun to our head with property payments. And I think we truly have one of the best risk-reward stories in the marketplace. And I'm really excited about what the new team has done and where this thing is going. Again, thank you very much for coming.